The ABC drama comedy series 8 is Enough is a staple of any conversation about timeless television from the late 70s to early 80s. The series debuted in 1977 and ended in 81. Join FactsVerse as we provide insights surrounding the show's cancellation and other interesting details. About the TV series. The original source material for 8 is Enough was a book by newspaper columnist Thomas Braden from 1975 based on his own family. With the exception of the family name and the father's occupation, the show ultimately had little in common with the book. Interestingly, before Braden was a journalist, he served in the military and worked for the CIA, and his wife was a companion to the Kennedys. The story revolves around a large family from Sacramento who have 8 children. Tom Bradford, the patriarch, is a columnist for the fictitious Sacramento Register, like his real-life counterpart Tom Braden, portrayed by Dick Van Patten. His wife, Joan, who was modeled after Joan Braden and portrayed by Diana Hyland, was a stay-at-home mother who looked after the kids. The two of them have 8 children: David, Mary, Joni, Susan, Nancy, Elizabeth, Tommy, and Nicholas. In order to recall their children's names, the parents use the acronym Never Try Eating Nectarines since juice may dispense. At the beginning of the show, David is the only child independent and living on his own. Mary, played by Lanny O'Grady, is the second oldest in the family and currently attending school to become a physician. Joni, played by Lori Walters, Susan, played by Susan Richardson, and Nancy, played by Diane Kay, are all in their late teens or early 20s and are students of acting, fashion, and modeling, respectively. Nicholas, played by Adam Rich, is the youngest of the 3 children in the family and is still in elementary school, while older siblings Elizabeth, played by Connie Needham, and Tommy, played by Willie Ames, are seniors. The series was supposed to be about a typical, although enormous, nuclear family with both parents, but Diana Hyland got sick after filming the first 4 episodes and had to drop out. Early in 1977, Hyland was told she had breast cancer. When physicians found the disease had spread, she had to have a mastectomy. Unfortunately, her health rapidly declined during production, and she passed away March 27, 1977, after having completed only 4 episodes. The creators of the show made the decision not to recast her, and as a direct result, the death of her character was inserted into the script for the second season. At the start of the second season, in the fall of '77, Tom had recently become a widower. After Tommy hurts his leg in a football game, a widowed teacher who comes to the house to tutor him, named Sandra Sue Abby Abbott, and played by Betty Buckley, falls in love with Tom. On November 9, 1977, they exchanged vows in a television movie from the series. David and Susan's double wedding takes place in the 4th season's TV movie broadcast in September of 1979. In later seasons, we see Abby earn her doctorate in education and begin working as a guidance counselor at the local high school. Mary becomes a medical doctor, and Tommy joins a rock band as a singer. Before we tell you more, be sure to give this video a like and subscribe to FactsVerse if you haven't already. Why was the show canceled? Even though the idea for 8 is Enough was simple, the project was fraught with problems from the beginning. Even beyond the obvious problem of Diana Hyland dying, the show's ratings weren't consistent. It premiered in the middle of the 1977 season and was the 23rd most watched show, with a 21.1 share. A 22.2 rating in the next year propelled it to 12th place, just ahead of both The Love Boat and Soap. Season 3 saw an increase in viewers, while Season 4 saw a decline to almost where it was in Season 2. By the end of Season 5, viewers had lost interest, and the ratings for 8 is Enough plummeted to outside the top 30. Despite being the season finale, the show failed to provide any resolution. However, the Bradford family got back together 6 years later for an NBC TV movie titled 8 is Enough, A Family Reunion. Except for Buckley, who was in Europe filming Frantic with Harrison Ford, the whole regular cast of the TV show reunited. Her role was taken over by Mary Fran, played by Bob Newhart, and the film was faithful to the TV show, right down to a brief cameo from Hyland's character. Even though it was broadcast at the same time as Game 2 of the World Series, the reunion nevertheless managed to earn the 6th highest ratings of any TV movie that season. They reunited for one last film, 8 is Enough Wedding, in 1989, which was not nearly as successful. The cast reunited on The Today Show in 2011. This was Buckley's first time seeing the gang since the series finale in 1981. Because of unfortunate circumstances, Rich was not there, and O'Grady had passed away in 2001. The series was a launchpad for young actors. Teens everywhere went crazy about the actors who played the Braden kids, and the show was a huge boost to their careers. Grant Goodeve, who played David, Willie Ames, who played Tommy, and Ralph Macchio, who portrayed Abby's orphaned nephew Jeremy later in the show's last season, all achieved teen idol status as a result. Ames would later co-star with Scott Baio on the TV series Charles in Charge. After Goodeve sang the show's theme song, he launched a brief singing career and became the original host of If the Walls Could Talk, a series on HGTV. Macchio became the most well-known for his roles in feature films like The Karate Kid and My Cousin Vinny. Dick Van Patten found out the show was canceled from a newspaper. At some point, the show was both well-received by critics and a financial success. Unfortunately, like all good TV shows, it had its run and was finally canceled. Even so, it's never an easy choice to make when faced with the prospect of canceling a popular show. The majority of performers, however, receive such news from executive producers or network execs rather than local press. But surprisingly, the show's lead actor found out he was leaving his character behind by reading about it in the paper. The cancellation of 8 is Enough was reported in the New York Times, which is how Van Patten learned about it. The cancellation was also announced by Variety under the title 8 Shows In, 8 Shows Out. Dick Van Patten said in a 2000 edition of E! True Hollywood Story that he was never notified of the cancellation and he learned about it through a newspaper article. Even after the show ended, Van Patten felt a connection to the role he played. In an interview in 1989, he claimed he had a lot in common with Tom Bradford. And like Bradford, Van Patten was also a man who prioritized family over work. Father Knows Best. The Bradford family from 8 is Enough left us 30 years ago, and it's hard to imagine that much time has passed. The series ended with an episode on May 23, 1981, titled Father Knows Best, which was broadcast on television. In the last episode, David and his high school classmates are preparing for their 10-year reunion, and they find themselves caught between the past and the present. In spite of their best efforts, his high school chums can't help but feel like failures when they reunite with each other after 10 years. They track down a former classmate they made fun of in order to make up, only to learn he's gone on to great success in life. He then exacts sweet revenge on them. Meanwhile, Jeremy's biological father arrives in town to exercise his parental rights, forcing him to make a decision about where he'll reside and causing tension for everyone. Now it's time to hear from you. What's your favorite memory of 8 is Enough? Let us know in the comments section below. And before you go, make sure you give this video a like and subscribe to FactsVerse if you haven't already. Click the bell icon to stay updated on all our latest content.